Okay, so today should mark pretty much the last episode of this expansion. I keep forgetting every single time, 7 days. So, I think next time it's still like the grand finale, so this won't be the official one. I wasted my most poetic title of all, but again, I've generally enjoyed blue a lot. I haven't really enjoyed the white a lot, even though, again, those are my two least favorite colors, but it does say something poetic. Basically, the fact that why does the mic seem so low at this setting? Let me see. It's kind of poetic that, oh, even when I go to use blue, I end up using it in such a way that doesn't emphasize using spells, right? It's like it's always, every color will be a mirror of yourself. It's not about the color. You're expected to use spells and removal and all this kind of stuff, but even when I play blue, because I generally tend to dislike those kind of things, right, just using removal, I like playing on the board and stuff more, that my whole dream win condition with it is that I would use a bunch of hexproof minions and ward and all things that counter spells and stop other people from using them, including me not using them myself. So then I end up using it, that my dream is like I would fill up the board with a bunch of hexproof stuff that you can't do anything about, and then you just die on the board like that, which hasn't happened very much, but that would at least be my intention instead of some other, more basic win condition. So the only change I really made to it was that last time I added like maybe multiple copies of the same thing that I think is maybe a little better, in particular like some low cost stuff, right? Just that a lot of this is like really top heavy and expensive and not very good. And so originally I always try to start doing these with like, I'll have one copy of each thing, right? Each have like one copy of this, one copy of that, just because I want to have the maximum variety, even if they're not as good. Like one is objectively better than the other or something like that. But first of all, there's hardly enough to even fill this shit up, because as much as I like the mechanic, there's very few things in the game that actually have hexproof when you consider the sheer number of cards. Like even between the other colors, there's not really that many. There's got to be one that's like a win condition card, maybe, that would be multicolored, right? There's always something crazy like that. It'll be like oh, you just win the game monocolored. It'll be something crazy like that, but I just don't see anything really that interesting, and I don't really want a win condition either. So it's just like, in a raw sense, no matter how much people might be elitist or try hard with this game, within this rule set that everything has to have hexproof reward, this might be the best thing you can possibly do. Right, it's just not all that exciting. I even made that mythic one. I thought I made something mythic last episode, but it might have been something for white. But yeah, that's really what it'll come down to. You can't really play like this, but I wish there was a format where you could, where you're just using like, because I don't know what the criteria would exactly be, right? Where you have, oh yeah, this must be the one. Whenever, see, like you just need 7 mana. Can I just get to the point where I get 7 lands out there? Deals combat damage to a player. Roll a d20, create a number of 1/1. Yeah, I would love to win with that, and it's even blue, so that counts. Any number of 1/1 blue fairy with flying equal to the result. Right, even that would be like, wait, what? Wait, how did I... What? What could I have changed? I thought that one was already done. Unless some format or something changed that forced me to lose a card. What the hell happened? I was using this last time. I must have just accidentally removed something. But the point is that sort of thing, oh, that'll win you the game single-handedly, but that has nothing to do, right, with, I don't know, basically the essence of what I'm trying to do, which is, can I just summon my hexproof stuff? Can I just put it on the board, get it to stick on the board, and just win like that? Is that possible? And it would be possible if everything wasn't such a power creep, over-the-top win condition sort of thing, which, again, I can appreciate that in the modern state of the game, but there is this, like, middle ground that I'm seeking. Somebody said play the Brawl mode, but the problem is in Brawl, I think a lot of these cards aren't even playable. And it's not like these cards are that good, or at least the way that I'm using them in conjunction has no real synergy aside from, oh, they're all just hexproof. The synergy is just that if you rely on single target removal, you might be screwed because there's nothing you can do. But, obviously because I have all hexproof, but what ends up happening is they just beat me on the board, or they just beat me on some kind of AoE removal or some kind of one-shot win condition, garbage like that. So there is something a little disappointing that you just can't do this, or you can, but then you get destroyed. So I just crave some other format sometimes, where either when I played a game a lot, like Hearthstone, where I just want to do other gimmicks and just see how they play out. Or like in this, where I'm playing it still effectively for the first time, and I just want to flesh out some things before I try to just try hard or net deck or anything like that. I just want to do something different, or something, you know, that I enjoy as thematic. So next time will be the last episode is this. Then I'll do a 10k draft, and then I will do I'll move on to like a red black synergy, kind of like how we're doing white and blue. So these are my two least favorite colors. Then red and black would be kind of middle of the road, and then green would of course be number one, my favorite color. But I've already played green more than adequately, so that'll basically be what we try to give every other color basically a chance. And if you can do that, then you'll be able to now you'd have to do it again. I've never tried the spellbook effect actually, but you know, fuck me if I use spells, because I hate doing that. I do like how consistent I am with that. It doesn't mean I've never used decks like that in any game, but you know, it's just a normal thing. You're gonna have removal, you're gonna have spells, like we get it. But this is so fun for me if I could actually do it in a way that, you know, the way that you would make it good that I didn't want to do is like, you wouldn't really make it about the mechanic. Then you would make it about, oh, let's put in some other, you would build just like a good quality deck, and you would happen to have a few hexproof things in there, right? But that's different than the essence. Like if I had 4 of these and 4 invisible stalkers and I buff them or something, and you just can't deal with them, you know, in the early game, something like that, you could win that way, which maybe makes it seem like, oh, that's an aggro deck, but it's really not meant to be. So I've been going between these two decks, the white and the blue, and seeing which one really does better. Right, and generally blue has been done better, but by which I mean both decks lose every single set of games. Like we're doing best of 3 sets in wild, or not wild, in timeless, and we've lost the majority of them with both, but blue has still managed to do slightly better because it'll often win 1 game out of the set and then still lose the best of 3, right? So in that context, at least it does better. But again, it's never about the outcome, and I'd be surprised if people look at it like that, because you objectively can't criticize the deck that somebody uses if they're choosing to use it within that rule set. You can criticize my play, right? Like, oh, if I make a misplay or something. But if I'm doing like, oh, I'm doing a challenge where I have to use this exact deck or this exact sort of rule set for it, right? How can you criticize that? Because even the best player in the world couldn't do much better, you know, because you'd be forced to use that exact deck. So they might play it a little bit better, but you know, it's not always a means argument where, oh, it's about anybody can just use the best deck in the world, and then yes, there'll be still some variance, but it'll be like, you know, the deck is 95% of the thing and 5% comes down to the player impact, or you know, something like that will be the ratio. It's not like, yeah, just keep sitting there and doing nothing or wait for your crazy win condition, but I'll just rush you down before that, which might actually happen. But no, it's like you would build around some kind of other, you would just make a different deck overall. So you can say, oh, the deck sucks, but that's fine. It's my choice to use it. It's not like I don't know that. And then you can say, I make a few misplays here and there, but that's fine. That part I can accept. But what I can't accept is when people, you know, oh, you're not allowed to use that card, or you're not allowed to play that deck. Like, why not? It's just, it's not always a zero-sum optimal thing. And even within that, there's going to be certain preferences that you have. Like, I don't know. It's just dumb sometimes how people look at it. I'm not saying anybody else has to do the same thing, but it is fun to see certain themes and gimmicks and little things that you commit to. Just because you enjoy them, or just because it's interesting to see, like, you know, what if I was to use every single card in the game that has hexproof together? Right, or something like that, which this is more so every card is blue, but it's kind of the same thing. Fucking, I guess, ironic. We could be immune to blue, but we couldn't be, and this is actually how I end up losing games too, because you can't worry about that. You just have to keep going face for me to have any chance at all, right? I can't worry about that. But I'm obviously going to lose if they have any healing, if they have any removal. I love that too. Your whole deck has one job, which is to not get targeted by spells. But what happened? Oh, he counters it before I can even play it. You know, we got to get the Carnage Tyrant out here or some shit. Where hexproof and can't be countered and can't be destroyed by AoE and can't be destroyed by anything. Like, just, you know, that's so much to ask just to get something to stick and stay out there on the board. it's not even like these are that good. That's the whole sadness of it, right? They're not good, but the price of not being good should at least be they should be hard to get rid of. Or, you know, they're especially not good for the cost. Like, this is a 5-mana 2/5 with hexproof, which is still not worth it. But if you would draw a card while your library has no cards in it. So I'm going to stealth mill myself just to fucking try to get that effect, which would still not be that. I guess, I mean, 10/10 for 5 with flying, with vigilance. But again, how am I going to get to that point? I'll build just around that. Like, the real win condition has been sitting in front of me the whole time. But no, what I was trying to do originally was sort of like, bro. What I was trying to do originally was I was trying to build a deck like, okay, Invisible Stalker, OTK, where you can't block it, so I just buff it like... Yeah, this is what all blue spells too, my own karma. The point is that, like Invisible Stalker, OTK, you buff it up a bunch and you one-shot them with an attack that can't be countered, but there weren't really any good adequate buffs that I could find that would really make that make sense, so... There's like some inner fire type thing you can do in this game, like where you double the health and then make the attack equal to the toughness or something. I can't remember what that card is, but maybe something like that would work. So you get its health up to like 20 and then... Because it's just the allure of, oh, you can't block it, so therefore he's just not going to let me play anything. Like, fun and interactive game, by the way. Imagine playing as blue, what a degenerate clown you would have to be. Some of these cards are just very memeable by the whole context. It's a flying shark, but is it flying by its own volition, or is it flying because there's a fucking typhoon going on in the background? Let's do a movie reaction to a very meme-worthy movie itself, Sharknado. I've never seen it, but everybody, you always see like meme references, clips and stuff on YouTube, or this is like the modern culture of movie reactions that, you know, just sit in front of a camera and watch a movie and just do obligatory obvious reactions, and that's a whole form of content. I'm gonna react to it while sitting out on a boat, like fucking watch Jaws on a boat or something, you know. that was something that cracked me up. This one YouTuber does these things where this card I at least love because it kind of forces you to play on the board, which of course nobody ever does in the history of the game. No, maybe I should reward myself though at the end of that gauntlet by going back to green, like but no, the draft I should do should be centered around red and black. Did I do this last one centered around blue and white? Because it should have been, because obviously we knew that we were going in to sort of punish myself with these mechanics, or like with these colors, my two least favorite colors. So we'll do red and black in the draft, and to sort of foreshadow that we're going to be doing red and black in the ladder, just playing it overall. And then after that we'll do like green, and we'll get to mythic with it, and we'll actually try to, you know, do something competitive for once, maybe. I won't promise it, but it's so boring sometimes. But at least we get a lot of variety because, you know, timeless, you know, we haven't seen this exact deck in a while. You know, I've lost to these fucking flying sharks before. Like, what exactly is it? Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX. I wish it was the opposite. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you get rewarded, because that's all I do. Create an XX blue shark token with flying where X has mana value. When you create it, create an XX. Wait, what? When you cycle it, create an XX. This almost makes it seem like Jade Idol type shit, like where you're creating one that costs a little higher every time, but it doesn't really synergize that way. Like, I would like it if every time you cast a spell, create one, you know, create a 1/1, then the next time create a 2/2, and every time you cast a spell, it creates one level stronger. Not based on the cost of the spell, just based on how many spells you've cast, you know, in sequence. That would be kind of a cool way to do it. No, we need something like whenever you cast a creature spell, something good happens, because that's all I ever do. And like, I'm allowed to use spells if only they have hexproof on them themselves. Like an enchantment, I mean, you know, we had like 9 lives has hexproof on it, right? So that kind of technically counts, even though that's white. We started off and we were doing like a white-blue hybrid. Then we split them in 2. Then we kind of changed them a little bit. So that's pretty much what we've done for this whole expansion, right? Even though I don't play really that much, it is... And how fitting that we have all the blue, you know, shit in the background. This looks like an arena you would do in Pokemon where you go to fight the Water Elite 4 member, right? And then I come up with this RP like in Pokemon Y. Like, you go in there and whoever loses the battle drowns. The room fills with water and the loser drowns, like some sort of Yu-Gi-Oh makeshift setup, right? If you lose this game, you'll be sent to the Shadow Realm, or you'll have your legs cut off and bleed to death or something. So there's like a dragon head in the room, like a statue, and that'll fall on your head and kill you, whoever loses, right? Like, it's some higher stakes, because it was also a first playthrough permadeath for me, so obviously it's a case where I'm trying to put it in context. Like, if I lost, that's how I would have died. I would have died to the... Every scenario you can give like an explanation in RP, like basically, if you die to Team Flare, you lose a match to Team Flare. They don't just kick you out and send you home. They'll actually just kill you, kidnap you, and kill you, right? If you lose to a wild Pokemon that you meet out in the, you know, just exploring around, like a random encounter in the bushes, you would end up getting just torn to shreds and killed because all your Pokemon are passed out. They won't just deliver you to the nearest Pokemon Center to be revived, right, where you black out. They would actually just tear you up and kill you. So it's a good way to explain it sort of in RP, why it's actually permadeath. I guess if you lose to a random trainer on the road, they wouldn't really kill you because they're just doing it for fun, but that one would be a little bit harder to explain. Like, we're just doing a random duel to the death with a little 5-year-old kid on the road who says, oh, Pokemon are so cute, let's play a game. That would be a little bit harder to justify. You'd be just so humiliated that you lost to them that you would take your own life. I guess your character is that much of a hard ass. Your cutesy, kawaii little girl that I play, you know, to try to have this power fantasy. This is not the male power fantasy, it's the female child power fantasy, like where, oh, you're this cute little girl and you're beating up all these adults and, you know, conquering the world one step at a time because you have dominion over Pokemon, and you kind of, you know, that's kind of what the general idea behind it is, that you're giving, you know, oh, even kids can be this powerful in the world if they treat their Pokemon right and train them well. You know, they can conquer anybody that they come up against, kind of that sort of thing. This is where you just get mana cucked and fucked because it's so stupid. Like, they're not even that good value. They don't even have like a win condition attached to them. But just because they're blue, and just because they're hexproof, and just because they're flying, they all suck because that's just the nature of it. Like, dude, it doesn't have to be like that. What about that 7 mana 7/7 dragon with flying that makes you roll a d20 as green? Like, that's still pretty good value. What about the 5 mana 10/10? What about the fucking, you know, the Carnage Tyrant 7 mana 7/6 with, you know, it can't be countered in hexproof? Like, there are examples of good value that you could have, but you just don't get it. Like, all I ask for is an equally statted minion. So, like, okay, it's a 5 mana 5/5, but you lose 1/1. So, it, you know, it's a 5 mana 4/4 to make up for the fact that it has flying. And then it's a 5 mana 3/3, you know, -1 again to make up for the fact that it's hexproof. But it doesn't matter because that's still not good enough. Like, it should be, you shouldn't have to give up that much to do it. But that's the way you could rationalize it, is each of the effects is worth like 1 statting. So if it was just a 5 mana 5/5 period, right, that would be the normal non-power creeped out value that you would expect. Like, no more lies. Who hurt you? What kind of a name for a card is that? Like, just, this is not a card in Magic the Gathering. This is a ultimatum that your girlfriend gives you after you cheat on her. Okay, you go here, and then you get to... But the card text, as complicated as this game is, the card text isn't actually as long, on average, as you might expect. The effects themselves can be complicated, but they're kind of... They get to the point. They don't have, like, these super long walls of text that you might expect, that sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh cards would have, especially very insular. Some hilarious examples, like... You know, if you have this archetype with this archetype, then this, you know, exact interaction happens. There's just like these very convoluted effects that you run into.
Must contend with me. I have got new moves to teach you.
Yeah, we need a Magic the Gathering MOBA where every single hero champion character that you play is one of the planeswalkers. Like, that's honestly something that if they haven't ever tried to make, they should. You got to just do a, you know, exploit every genre with your IP, which usually it's the opposite, where the card game is an expansion of a, you know, of a universe that doesn't have one, like where the base game is an MMO or some other fantasy game, and then they make a card game of it. But in this case, it'd be the opposite, where you're obviously just taking a main series IP that is a card game and turning it into an MMO or a MOBA or something else like that.
Got the edge in this fight.
Yeah, the Invisible Stalker has such a sense of, it has such an aura to it, right? This guy is like the anti-Jason Tatum, am I right? Everybody's saying the guy has no aura just because he tries to copy everybody else or something. But no, this dude is literally, that's a hell of a nickname, the anti-Jason Tatum. Let's just call him Jaylen Brown. But the point is that the dude has aura because of the simple fact that you know, you understand what you're doing. Like, you're making it so non-interactive for your opponent. You can't target it with spells. You can't remove it. You can't attack it because that's just how this game works. You can't attack minions, right? So you have no choice. You can't block it, so you can't do shit. Obviously, you can do an AoE or something, but this is literally like... I can't believe I can't come up with a way to make it better, though. Like, what is the way that you would actually win with it? You would have to, like, build around it. I just have to buff it a lot, but there are no fucking buffs in this goddamn game, apparently. That are actually good, that actually last beyond just the end of the turn. I must be missing something. Like, it must be a minion effect that I'm thinking of that you would have to do. Like, you summon a minion that gives it, like, a ongoing buff every turn, or, you know, some of the healing buff ones that we see as white all the time. I'm just missing something with that. Because I keep expecting, like, oh, there should be a low-cost spell that costs, like, 2. That gives it, like, plus 3, and then you know, do a couple of those, and then you beat them down in a few turns, even if it's not an OTK. But all the buffs are super inefficient, and, like... you have, like, a buff that... What do you call it? Most of them only last till the end of the turn, or they're very expensive and they're not really efficient enough. Like that one chick that turns into a werewolf is a good one. Like at the end of every turn, she gives everything like +1/+1, right? Yeah, I don't know what it is that there's something just I wanted to do with this that I've missed out on the whole expansion, that we should always do it before it ends. I don't mind even making a hybrid like with green or something if I have to. What is that called? It's like something Cadaver Bruck Caretaker. Big enough comment on your turn, put 2, and it is hexproof. I mean, it is hexproof. There's no law that, well, I've been trying to avoid using green. Put 2 +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control, right? So it can be the same one. It's not, some of them will say like on 2 separate minions, something like this. But I don't have the green land, and I'm not allowed to put it. So unless I, Why can't there be something else like that, dude? Let me see if there's something that adds a counter to it just permanently or regularly or cheaply. Those are like the two staples. It'll be super expensive or it'll be, you know, just till the end of the turn. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 2. Don't really care about poison counters. And I don't really have anything that I could potentially make, so unless it's just something I missed. And I don't mean the mist of the seas that we would RP into. Whenever you draw a card, put a foreshadow counter on ominous seas, remove 8 counters from it, create an 8/8. That's actually not a hard condition to reach. That'd be kind of cool, but I mean, again, it has to do with hexproof or something. You just wait till you draw 8 cards like in a normal thing. That's pretty cool. I mean, I already have it too, but does everything really follow this condition? Why is it so limited? Like, why are there so few cards in a game that has thousands of cards that actually have fucking hexproof? I'm not, like, imagine, oh, you're trying to do this in standard, right? Imagine how many hexproof cards are there available to play in standard, and the answer is basically fucking 0, because even in this I have to go out of my way to have so many of them and to have, you know, so many suboptimal ones, and even some of them are ward too. Let me see. There just aren't very many cards in the game that have this. I hate to say it. Like, let's make a rainbow hexproof deck with every hexproof card in the game, right? Just let's say you do it as an example, and there really won't be that many. It's not a question of my collection even. It's not a question of the expansion, because we're doing every expansion in the game. It's not a question of whether I have them or not, because I think I have pretty much all of them, so I don't understand. You have hexproof, but I want the minion to. Obviously, that's kind of the whole thing. Right, so a lot of these that'll mention it are not, they don't actually have it. They have some other convoluted mention, unlock condition that you get it because you, whatever. It's not directly what I mean when I say it. Maybe I am missing some and I just kind of never bothered to find them. You have hexproof like that. I can see the value of that too, but I don't really enjoy it as much. Right, I'm more so saying it to play stuff on the board, like to have board control, and you can't do anything about it unless you AOE, unless you know, have some hard removal that doesn't select a single target, which a lot of people do. Like we just saw it in that guy's in the first game, that he just did an AOE that easily dispatched everything, no matter what it was. And so I forget what that card is called, but the point is, it's not that hard to counter this, even if in the best case scenario, but there just isn't enough to make it work. Right? Even in a gimmick sense, not even in a quality meta competitive sense. It's so unbelievable that you have to go through this. Like, okay, here, is basically what I was doing in the first place. There's going to be no difference. As long as you control a form or artifacts that has hexproof. Like, why the fuck should I have to go out of my way to do that? That's so stupid. Enter the battlefield with a flying counter or a hexproof counter. Like, why? Look at the value, bro. 6 mana 3/6 with enter the battlefield with one or the other. It could have both and it would still be barely justified to be a fucking 6 mana 3/6. Like, what are you talking about? Especially by modern, you know, power creep, etc. standards. This is 7 mana 5/5 with a picture that looks straight out of some low res type of shit that doesn't match the art style of this game at all. Right? This is very 2D and underwhelming. But I could make, let's just make it, but I'm probably not going to use it because it falls in the trap of still just being too expensive and too inefficient. Or yeah, hexproof from a certain color, that doesn't really count. There's basically just nothing. We know for a fact that green doesn't have very many because obviously I always played as green anyway, so I would have used them if they did have them. I made that little chick, the werewolf chick, and I made this guy was in running to this guy was in the running to be maybe one of my favorite cards in the history of the game if it was just a 4 mana hexproof without the negative you can't cast non-creature spells. That's even fine because that's all I do pretty much anyway, right? But it's that second part, which you might think, oh, that's only fair because it's such a good value, 4 mana 6/6 with hexproof. But the downside would have been good enough if it was just you can't cast non-creature spells, right? But it had to be on top of that something that seems like a plus and a minus. So you could have just, negated it and said, no, you don't need that at all. But for 2 mana you can pay, you lose all abilities, which means now you can cast creature spells, or I mean non-creature spells, but I wouldn't want to do that anyway, so I don't care. But your opponent can do it, thereby negating the hexproof too. So it ends up being like a double-edged sword that I just don't want. So I wish you just had the ability to, I just wish it wasn't there in the first place. Has hexproof if it hasn't dealt damage yet. But we've already looked at these. I was using this one for a while, in fact. Just not because I was making a hexproof green deck, but just because I liked it. Or yeah, what was the criteria there? It was like just... Maybe it was supposed to be that. Or yeah, it was just a hexproof deck, period, between green and blue. But that's not the point of what I'm doing this season. It was meant to be, It was meant to basically just be blue and white. It has nothing to do with hexproof necessarily. It was just that that's the one mechanic I like within that. Can't be countered. Oh yeah, this guy's in the running to be, little poor man's Carnage Tyrant. Can't be countered and hexproof. That's amazing. If it was kicked, that's actually pretty good value. Look, imagine, wow. 7 mana 6/6 with hexproof and haste. And can't be countered. Like, green is always a gift that just keeps on giving because... it keeps on growing with its amazing fucking, just my affinity for it and how I just love everything that it represents. It's just always about good value. Flying Vigilance Trample has hexproof if you... This dude looks like Des Volscalp from Yu-Gi-Oh! He looks exactly like him from like a different angle. Isn't that the one? Let me see. Des Volscalp, or there's another one like that. It is... There's another card like this though too. The Yugi uses like it gains 100 whenever your opponent casts a spell, or... What is it? Archfiend Guildfur or something? It's one of these two that I'm thinking of. That it has an uncanny resemblance to this. Here, I'll even show it. Oh, you can't really see this picture very well though. Maybe it looks sort of like it. So I put the display capture above this, it should be fine, right? Yeah, it's somewhere between this guy, and there's that classic moment from the show that's like, whatever, where, oh, my real trap card was actually the monster's effect that the guy clearly obviously didn't know, and Joey's acting dumb, but he actually is just dumb because he doesn't know that that's actually the case. I don't know, I guess it doesn't look exactly like it, but yeah, but basically the point is there's not enough fucking hexproof stuff in the game. I even expanded it to include a ward and it still wasn't good enough, so you basically just can't do it. So we did the blue one, let's just do the white one, and we'll get one more chance next week, which maybe I'll make an exception next time and actually do a deck that involves actually using spells in the degenerate way the blue is meant to, but probably there was never a concession that I said where I had to do that. Maybe like, okay, let's do the white deck and then let's wow, that was a very fast queue. I don't think we've ever had one like it. Barely even got to show the timer for a second, but we get to, maybe I'll make a deck that is, more in line with what these are actually meant to do. That would be kind of fun if we actually got to play it. Wow, we just wasted a mythic wild card that we're never going to use this card again because we're never going to really play white again ever in the history of the fucking game, because I'm not sure whether I should do a draft to do with these colors or whether I should do it for the next colors. I should do it with these ones just to cap off, and then I should almost do 2 back to back. One to introduce, one to wrap up and conclude the old colors that we're doing, and one to obviously you can tell I'm sick of playing as these colors because I'm actually congested in real life as I'm doing this. But the point is that, oh, and this dude's trolling with a fucking 250 card deck. The point is that you get to basically, I could do it to conclude this one, or I could do it to introduce the next one, so I can't really decide. I'm sure I must have already done it. I should just do the next one. Those hands already burnt out, so what good are all those 250 cards if you can't draw into them? And I'm sure he'll have a million ways to do it. So clearly he's using something that's a bit of a gimmick himself, right? This isn't a sheer accident, but you know, that's what I mean. My deck isn't good, your deck doesn't have to be good. They can just be kind of cool and unique and gimmicky, and if I get to this guy though, I won't feel bad about it. So the only gimmick for white was supposed to be just flying, which I guess is a much more broad, or wait, what was it? Oh, it was supposed to be like flying and buffing was the whole or you won't have enough things to actually do with that. Just attack, and then you get to choose the enlist, which could be that guy, the guy I call like the Hellraiser card, whatever his name is. The dude who sits at the beginning and tries to solve the puzzle and then gets torn apart by the fucking Cenobites. You could easily block it, I don't really care even. I love just the size of this guy's hand though, that he thinks he's gonna do some shit with this. Like, who are you? A worse version of me who fucking is even more gimmicky, where you have 250 cards and you have, you know, such a limit of I don't know, just cycling and draw and anything in your hand. Yeah, this one is not very inspired either, but I'm sure I could make this one better, but I just don't care about white enough to bother. But there are really a lacking number of good buffs that are either low cost or good value, and also okay, that one's not too special. Yeah, let's just get to the point where we can play 7 of these, and I gotta not make the mistake that I did like last time with this, where we basically get to, you know, you just play it too early. You gotta wait till you're like a 1 HP so the, you know, 9 hits actually matter. Right, doing it now serves no purpose because you already have the 20 health to go through. You gotta wait as long as you possibly can. Let's actually BM the guy a little bit, if he lets me. Right, I don't always win, but when I do, I gotta really savor them, right? You gotta, that's the whole principle that you can always tear down BM with, is just, but for me, it's just more a gimmick in a win condition, not, or like trying to win with style. Not that there really is anything like that, but I just want to get my first chance to actually play this card. But if you look at it, you know, oh, BM is like, it shows you that the other person must be a loser, bottom feeder, who's like, oh, you know, haha, you don't always get a win, but when you do, you really have to cherish it. Kind of like, you know, I was just saying that about myself right now. The point being that you have to, will we even get to really see the effect from it, since we'll die? I mean, since he'll die, we won't get to see the little blue fairies, but it's similar to the effect of the D20 that you roll with the 7/7, 7 mana 7/7 for green, but that one just does a buff. It'll give you like +1/+1 to something else based on what the D20 rolls. So I was shocked with that. Like, you can just give something +20/+20, right? Which we did get that exact effect at least once. So I mean, we won't really get to enjoy it too much, but that's our ace card that we added last time, at least, which is good, but it takes forever to get to that point, so. Yeah, people who BM are losers because they're just trying to savor the, you know, you got to savor any victory you can get because you probably never get them. But also in the context of somebody, when they beat me, it makes it twice as bad because you're BMing a guy who's using a deliberately gimmicky bad deck just for the fun of it, and you're using a meta tryhard, you know, not this guy, but meta hard tryhard pay to win type deck that is actually going to be, you know, unsatisfying to beat somebody like me in the first place, let alone why would you BM them when you know you're just a net decking clown. Not that I would really know, because, oh yeah, I gotta change my cosmetics too, but I've been too lazy. Or we'll do it once we go into the next expansion here. But no, I was trying to do Magic Online and try to fit that in, but like if I win a best of 3, so I could do it after this year, but then I'm just not gonna have the time. So I end up doing just like one best of 3 with each of these fucking decks. Wait, what happened? Why did it take so? Why did it wait this long to actually do that shit? There's like a bug where there's too many cards, so it takes like an hour to load in. What the fuck is going on? The whole game is just glitching out. His deck appeared late, then his hand just disappeared. Wait, what happened? Did it actually go away, or did it just visually bug out? We'll know if he plays something that isn't what he just top decked. I'm so confused. Bro is actually losing to a bug. This is the only best of 3 quality kind of win I can get against a bronze player who's getting cucked by his own 250 card deck, which again is not that much worse of a gimmick than what I'm doing, but still. Or are we gonna get too cocky and not even do all the buffs and optimal plays that we should do? Yeah, the blue deck's gimmick is just, it's got to be hexproof or ward, and this deck, I would say it has to be a minion too, but if there's some, you know, there's some few things that aren't like that, that would actually be able to, you know, like, well, I guess I could say 9 line. Oh yeah, this one's also hexproof, so it's hexproof, flying, ward, and buffs, right? Any of those 4 mechanics, I guess, I'm fitting between, but the point being that we have, yeah, this is the kind of game that we need, but I don't understand what this guy is actually doing. Even if he was getting bugged out by that, he would still have, you know, he must have drawn into something he could actually play. Look at that dominant victory for white. But I'm objective. Just whether I win or lose, it's not, my enjoyment is not dissected just from that. Clearly, you know, clearly based on my use of these gimmick decks, the fact that, you know, the whole philosophy and principle behind using them is the fact that you enjoy kind of the style of play and the way that you would win more than the actual outcome itself, right? That's the whole principle behind it. So since that won out, now we should play that again for the rest of the time, or make like a better version of it for going into next time, which maybe this one might be more suited to actually have those options because it's much more open-ended. Right, it was mainly supposed to be flying and buffs just to show that, like, you know, oh, we're gonna... I think I already tried to do that, though. So, yeah, why is hexproof even in here? Because I guess it wasn't really one of the main mechanics we wanted. I guess that was enough of an improvement. And I keep acting like I can improve these, but unless it's just something I ignored, we're obviously going to have... we're obviously going to have the ability... Let's do best of ones, though, then. That's sort of the reward for... You know, we try to compete between the two. So this one actually won a best of 3, which is surprising. And then we could play Magic Online based on that win condition too. Like, oh, if we actually win a best of 3 in an episode, that's all the criteria is. That which shows you how unconfident I am that I actually would do that. But, you know, you could say, oh, it's because they're bronze. But a lot of the time that doesn't even matter. We still get destroyed. And oh shit, we get a bronze player again. But in the best, or actually that's more common actually. In the best of 3, you tend to get matched up against people like way higher or lower than you. This is almost as bad as like my half asleep Hearthstone streams that sometimes, you know, because I always do them on on Sunday. For some reason I'm always tired and I start them late. So then I would be, you know, ever seen somebody play Hearthstone half asleep play Hearthstone? Oh right, it's 2023 was a little joke I made with the episode last year, because as if to imply that the game is so boring in its current state that you would be asleep anyway, like all the time, instead of just because I am genuinely tired in real life. But with this one, it's like, ever seen anybody fucking, you know, sick and congested, and all we would need is me sneezing too to until end of turn, or just whatever? Wait, what? Wait, I don't get it. Wait, it's actually that cheap, or you can only do it once? Oh, that'd be so sick if you just keep doing it over and over. From your card, then exile it. Okay. Ever see somebody congested and stuffed up fucking play Magic the Gathering Arena with gimmick decks, suboptimal gimmick decks of bronze in best of 3 format? Timeless best of 3. But yeah, everybody was saying, oh, don't play timeless, don't play timeless, but you know, have you seen me play historic with these kind of decks? You still get destroyed. Maybe not quite as badly, but no, this one doesn't seem actually too bad because of the fact that you know, have a couple buffs going on if you have 20. Wait, but how did I... If you would gain life, but how did I gain so much life is the thing. Tap rolling. What we have is the ability to basically, you know, maybe see worse decks than we typically do because we actually get a proper bronze rank matchup equal to ourselves, at least in best of 1, because in best of 3 there is like more of a variance. For whatever reason, they try to find you a matchup that's like, it's harder to find a match maybe because less people play that, so therefore you get to have a wider pool of people you get matched against, which is kind of unfair. But for whatever reason, I always found it easier to actually ladder. Like the one time I got platinum as green, whatever, was in the best of 3 format, which again is not very far, but it's still farther than we typically get, especially in the short amount of time that I typically play, and obviously with the bad gimmick decks that I use. So that's more just to show that maybe the format was conducive to that. But no, I like these last 2 matchups because they seem like whatever this guy is using so far doesn't seem that good. The best thing he has is his cosmetic Golden Castle of Stromberg fucking card back over here. And we could, you know, try to do the little cheese with Toxic on top of everything, like just have 4 of these to try to... what does backup even do? It is... Enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1. If it's another creature, it also gains something else. The point is that we basically try to... What was I saying? Oh yeah, you could try to make it a toxic, do all the toxic flying stuff that would allow you to have that as a win condition on top of everything. Like instead of just, oh, we're doing this unmitigated... I treat flying like it's, this creature can't be blocked sometimes. We're gonna do this unmitigatable shit, but actually it's just... it's actually just flying, but a lot of the time people can't deal with it, especially green. People often struggle to deal with. Now we have so much mana, so much land, but we don't actually have a very good hand with which to use it. But we could win just by this token alone, because you have, especially with the healing, all the things that green can struggle with doing, like from my own personal experiences, a green lover, fuck, it struggles with flying, as I was gonna say, but it still does because it doesn't often have flying minions of its own to block with, right? That's just not something that green is about. And then also it struggles with healing because it doesn't like, there's nothing you can do. I'm just gonna kill you, or at least with my sort of mid-range pace. If somebody heals, it fucks everything up, which makes it seem more like an aggro expectation, because but see, at least that was a good back and forth kind of thing where he built up a good board, but at least I had a chance to win. Maybe that's been my problem. Best of 1 might actually be a better format to play because of that whole ranking thing, or maybe, you know, I'm doing everything wrong that would piss people off. Don't play timeless, don't play best of 3, don't play fucking gimmick decks, don't do any of the things that you're doing. But this notion of telling somebody who is new to a game to play standard is always so deceptive and stupid, and I hate it. It's like, oh, it's balanced, or oh, you get to play, which is an illusion, right? It's never going to be perfectly balanced anyway, and everybody's going to be using the same shit over and over. But it just restricts the card pool. Why not let somebody who's playing the game for the first time ever, generally, you know, even me, like, not like I'm playing it for the first time today, but like playing it for the general first part of my experience. Like I played it less than 2 years, which is still a lot, but whatever. It's like, it's the case where you want to experience every card in the history of the game, whether you get to see them on the other side or use them yourself, right? Why would you want to restrict somebody? And the main reason why that happens is because you're able to see, why does it keep happening? You're able to basically, yeah, take away his hand too, like the other guy. Whether that was actually just visually or because he didn't actually play anything, so I couldn't tell. But oh, I was actually praising too that you often face people lower rank relative to you in best of one, but I guess not here. Or we're just farming people today. Something must be going on today, like because it's towards the end of the season or some shit that people towards the end of the month and the end of the expansion, basically people are even less competitive than normal. But what do you call it, you have this desire to experience every card in the history of the game. So what is the incentive to restrict it to standard, like just the cards from the last several expansions? It's the fact that they would want you to, hey Wormies, how's it going? It's the fact that they would want you to buy the newest cards in the game and kind of be beholden to the business model, right? There's always that incentive. That's why power creep happens, etc. So that's my whole objection, that why do people say, it's kind of like in chess, speaking of a 2,000 plus chess player that we have here. The point is that everybody, when you're playing a game for the first time, they're like, oh, you got to use the newest expansion and the newest cards and all this kind of meta stuff. Just like in chess, oh, you got to study the game or this or that. He's probably 3,000 by now. But yeah, I kind of dislike that effect where everybody wants to be either a try-hard metagamer when they're first playing a game, or encourage other people to, or when they want to, you know, net deck, or again, restrict themselves in a format, like only play the newest expansions and stuff like that. Try not to do that anymore. Well, that's fine, but it's just more so the majesty and the love of the game that people have, like where, you know, you just want to try crazy shit. Or even with variants is a great example of that too. Like, why even just play standard chess? Just play variants and mess around and, you know, try different things. But it's enough of a variance just to tell people to play different openings than the same stale ones over and over. Whether it be by choice, like you want to play fun openings, or you want to do it, or you do it just because you don't know openings in the first place. But then you might not be too adventurous either, right? Even I always say that, like, I'm gonna, you know, I want to try. That's how I used to try to play, actually. I want to try all these crazy things that probably nobody ever does, not even because I know what people do, but just I'm gonna do some pawn to h4 on move 1, right? But then you realize you get punished so hard for that even at the low level. So you still have to adjust and just use kind of some of the stale stuff over and over. Yeah, I finally got around to actually playing variants, which was my original love with the game. It was like my reward for hitting a mere 1700, which is not very good, but still. Oh shit, I shouldn't have even bothered doing that. No, this is like the most games we've won with one of these decks since doing this whole blue-white shenanigans. And clearly that's just because blue and white are bad, not just because I use such garbage with them. But it's a combination of that to just revel in my hatred of them. But actually blue has kind of won me over just because of how much, and I guess I always knew it, but how much it has to do with hexproof and obviously ward. So the only way you can, and in fact I ended up using a lot of blue cards before too, with respect to even just, what is it, exile one card, I guess it doesn't really matter, with green, because I would, you know, I want to make a hexproof only focused deck, so I would have no choice but to use some blue cards, because that's the only way you can actually get a hexproof vibe out there. That's what I got to be encouraged to do myself, is to make my own variants, because it does actually kind of let you do that very easily on chess.com. Like, you can kind of combine them together. So let's do Fog of War with Duck Chess, or all these kind of wild, crazy things. But I don't know if it lets you like change the position of the pieces or the size of the board like that. There was like that one site that I always used to use for that, but then they took it down, or the guy stopped, whatever. It was just some guy doing it as a passion project, but then he couldn't afford to do the upkeep of the site. So it was like, that's cool. Yeah, like you could just make your own overall. Like you could create your own, how do you describe it? Like a movement pattern for a piece. So a piece that moves like only backwards or something weird like that. And just all kind of other, whatever. I can't remember, but now there's like that chesscraft that I was using on Steam that does the same thing, where you can, and you know, make your own custom pieces, custom boards, etc. But nobody actually plays that, so now you can't find a match. So you can only play against AI or something, which is still fun, but you know, you host a lobby where every piece is a pawn, or every piece is a, you know, a pawn that can only move backwards and has some other weird win condition to it. Or like you block off parts of the board, right? So like it's a flanking position. So the middle of the board is just like, you can only move through the 2 squares on the outside to try to cut through.
Let's do this together.
All kind of little, you know, gimmicks like that. That people would still end up metagaming in time, but that's the whole fun. Like why people like 960, because you can't, it's not even that you can't metagame it, it's that you would have to individually metagame every single position, you know, each of the 960 positions, which over time I'm sure people would even do. It's just the assumption is it's way too hard, or you're not going to know which one you're going to get. It's tricky to make things customizable. Yeah, it's called Chess Craft. I'm sure there's other ones that do that too. Yeah, I was like so sad that they took down the website that I went looking for one, so that was just the one that I found. Yeah, I like to see at least that people were embracing that at the high level. You know, 960 with the GOAT challenge and stuff. That, not that 960 wasn't around, but people have started to warm up to it a lot in the last several years. Enlist, you can do that. Or no, you can't. Or wait, we should do it the other way, then enlist the other guy. Yeah, I like this sort of top deck mode is a good way to tell too that people are using suboptimal stuff. I'm just getting like super lucky today, where this feels like actually how it should be at a low rank, that people aren't using over the top really good stuff. Or there's these videos I keep seeing, that's another game like that, I can't remember, where it is like all these different variations of chess that you can make yourself, or that it lets you play with a kind of like better graphics. Where I was obsessed with that for a while, like the 3D boards, like just simulate like you're playing in real life. Like that's the one thing I still haven't done on my chess bucket list. I gotta play VR chess, or I gotta play like actual over the board tournaments, but I was waiting till I was actually moderately decent, I guess, to try to do that. At least like probably 2,000 plus on these sites, then I'll do it. Which again is probably still going to only translate to maybe 17 or 1800 in a FIDE context, but that's still fine. So now I'm on inflation times 2, because not only am I playing online, but I'm also playing on Lichess. So Lichess is inflated even from chess.com, which presumably is inflated from FIDE too, but maybe not that much, because I tend to see that chess.com is actually pretty good. I mean, once you get to a certain level, it must be the case, because there are like people who are over 3,000. So of course, there's no such thing as that. But become the world's first 2,900, but on chess.com, or like the world's first 3,500, whatever the highest somebody's been on there. Okay, we should actually still be fine. Yeah, there was, you know, some competitive play with that. You know, you could do it with really any variant, and it would be interesting to see. I like that implication that like even the best players are thrown off so badly. Like, oh, I haven't studied this for 20 years, so now all of a sudden, even though you're a grandmaster, you'll still have certain innate skills, but you're not going to be really all that good at it right away until you learn the variant too. That completely, you know, you just have pieces that work completely differently. You know, the elephant is iconic for how much I bash it, where it's just like a bishop, but it's nothing like a bishop really, but it's meant to be in the chaturanga format. Like, you know, it just jumps the square and can only move 2 spaces and can only move to 8 spaces on the board. So it's even worse than a stupid knight that everybody tries to fight me on how bad the knight actually is. I guess I'll just go till I lose a game, which typically happens a lot sooner. White has actually been perfect, I think, so far. Maybe it's something I did last time where I actually changed it, but I don't think I did too much. I just added like that 710. You like playing these big sets where the floor is the board. Yeah, that is. There's always that meme that everyone shows of like a bathroom tile, like that's open roll chess where the bathroom tiles are black and white, and that makes like a 1,000 by 1,000 board out of it. Objectively more complicated than regular chess, which people always. This looks like a Pona. That would be a crossover I haven't seen yet. Zelda with this game. They do all kind of weird ones like Transformers and Post Malone. My Little Pony even. But yeah, like just by simply increasing the size of the board by like 5 squares, 5 by 5, you know, it's objectively more complicated. So clearly that's not the reason why people like standard chess so much. Is just because, you know, of the depth or complexity that it might have. Like so many other games could be more complicated. So I just hate when people say that. You know, shogi is more complicated, or even any of the variants like Crazy House, where it's just the same game, but since you can now put pieces back down, that just makes it so much more insane. Shogi is the one game that's even more beginner unfriendly than regular chess. Not only because of that aspect, but just it was so competitive at even a super low level for whatever reason. Filthy Westerner tries to play a Japanese hardcore game for the first time and gets punished. You won't believe what happens. Like those clickbait Dar man videos or whatever. Entitled kid has a fit and she instantly regrets it or whatever. Yeah, duck chess is just like a worse version of the soccer chess one that he made where, you know, where it's not actually a win condition, where if you kick the ball to the end zone, to the back rank or whatever, you actually win. It just is a simply, you know, the lesser version where it's just blocking stuff from moving there. Which you could actually do in a really weird way that pissed me off. Like the king is in checkmate, but he captures the queen that's mating him, and then you put the duck in between the king and the bishop that was covering the queen, so apparently that worked. That's like some retroactive ex post facto justification for it.
May your peace.
Oh, what? It still does it even if you decline? I'm not even really paying attention to what I'm doing. But he's so low, it should be fine. Just don't heal. Oh, shit. Whenever land enters the battlefield, put +1/+1 counter. Double the number of counters. Oh, shit. Okay, I maybe got too cocky. Or yeah, like the floor is lava chest where like every turn one square gets eaten up, like you can no longer use it. It just gets swallowed kind of either randomly or you can kind of see it coming. I feel like I played that before, but I've never, it's not on any of the major sites at least. Like every few turns, one space starts to crack, and then after X number of turns, it'll just disappear completely. So now you can't use it anymore. So if the game goes on too long, then the whole board will come like that. So either it gives you a warning or it could just happen on its own randomly. And it would have to be done in such a way that it's fair. Like it'll be equal amounts on each side or something like that. And it would also like swallow up your piece if it's on there. Yeah, there's just so much variety you can do with it, but you know, people will glorify like chess is the game of infinite variety. Also, you should play the same way every single time and the same openings over and over, etc. But also you should play the same standard version of it over and over. That was quite a bit of discipline that I actually resisted playing variants for so long. I did a little bit of it, I think, when I first had come back in 2021, but then I almost exclusively played standard chess from then till pretty much this year. To sort of punish myself for how bad I was. Which I still am, but that'll be the day when I actually stream, you know, like an over-the-board chess tournament, which I won't even want to do because it'll be face cam or, you know, I'll just show the board itself, but still. I'm the original, the chess speaks for itself guy, even though, you know, it wasn't really to do with chess, just more so in general of, you know, the philosophy of letting what you do speak for itself and not making it about yourself so much by doing face cam and cult of personality stuff, whatever, just like with whatever I would do. But it's just become so much more extreme in the other way. Let's see if we can win one actually with the toxic condition too. But I mean, it would you're unless you heal, it's not going to come into play because you would die from the damage from that anyway. Yeah, that would be the ultimate. I got to make a card game based on chess, if there isn't already such a thing, where it combines the two things that I love so much. But the way you would do it wouldn't be like it would resemble chess at all. It would probably be more like you would just make cards based on chess pieces, and then you'd have to expand and make all kind of variations of them. So like, you know, the rook is a 5/5 that has a certain effect. It wouldn't really be moving on a board as much. It would be played more like a normal back and forth card game. Chess Battle Advance, is that a card game? Let me look it up. Icy Puzzles reference. Chess Battle Advance. 4 years ago. Project that aims to fix all the problems with CEO. What the hell? What is this?
Cheese Banquet Advanced. Could
Cheese Banquet. Okay, he's still at... Oh, I'm acting like it's my turn to attack. Can I finish him off in time? 10 HP, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or I could maybe still last out a turn. So I have to leave a few things to block with. Let's do it like that, so we can just take out the 4-1, take out the 3-2. Everything should be fine. It's a game. Seems like I was getting a lot of memes and stuff from it. Let me see. Main theme chess battle advance. Yeah, I tried playing a lot of those old school ones like battle chess or whatever, where it was like this really old school one with the knights where they do all these kind of animations and stuff. But the problem with those is they often don't have actual multiplayer to them. Wait, what? Oh shit, I finally lose one, but that actually could have probably been prevented. I guess I had like menace for 3. Whatever, but this was still a better performance from the white one that I'm used to. So it's possible maybe I changed more. Either today I'm just getting lucky, or somehow people are less competitive because it's towards the end of the month or end of the expansion, or maybe I somehow made it better last time. But the main thing I think I just did was add that 710, which we did at least get to see once, which is pretty cool. But only because I was BMing the poor guy, and we didn't get to actually see the effect play out. I tend to waste mythic wild cards more than I should this way. Like, I'll do something just because, oh, that looks cool, that looks interesting, and then I'll play it once, and then, you know, I'm not even going to use this deck again really too much in the future. Yeah, next time will be the finale episode for these two, and then we'll do the 10k draft, and then we'll do probably red and black as the next two colors. Bloom Burrow, that must be the next expansion, obviously. I thought it was something else. They always show some other shit here that makes me think that's the next expansion, and then it's actually not. It's just some other event or promotion they're doing. And they did this stupid thing where you have to pay 2,800 for what I thought would just be some little bonus thing you can get from Daily Quest. You know, like I have, how much of this do I actually have? 481, but then you'd have to pay 2,800 gems, which is an insane amount. You have to pay in order to pay again with another currency. This guy explains it well and you can see the game, but I think my idea is a little different. Okay, I'll look at it.